Welcome, welcome.
Oh my Lord.
Wow.
I would say God, but Lord. This is Lord time. Meg, I cannot believe you all made it here. Thank you so much. We are so overwhelmed, aren't we?
My gosh, guys. You know what? Given the last couple of years, what we've been through in this country and on this planet, to see all of you sitting there, being willing to be in the world with these frickin' masks on, I'm like, bravo!
Wait, we'll do something really cool. We'll do something really cool. You guys pull out your phones, turn on your flashes, we're gonna light it up with stars, and you guys do a really good selfie here. Ready? Here they go. Ready? Get all your stars out. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Yay! Thank you.
I'll tell you right here.
Thanks, baby. All right.
I love her.
Yeah, he's okay too.
We are so happy to have you here at FanX. We're just
my God.
thrilled. This is our first show in 2 years. And what people might not know, when it was announced that you guys are coming through Twitter, it went crazy. We have some die-hard fans and they want to ask lots of questions. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into questions. Let's start right now.
Yay, fans.
Hold it.
Hey, give me that microphone on.
I hear you, baby.
Give me some mic there, please.
I can project without it.
No, you got it now.
There you are.
Okay. Enjoying your characters in Battlestar Galactica, I wanted to know who the leaders are in your lives that kind of gave context and motivation for your military character and your president character. I mean, you played a lot of strong women in The Closer, as well as Battlestar Galactica, and so many other roles. Who were the leaders that you admire the most?
There are so many women out there right now that all of us, and particularly these young, beautiful ballerinas in the room, can look to. When I was growing up, a great deal. Is this a big echo, or is
There's a little bit of an echo here.
Okay. If I'm driving you nuts, just tell me. Can you hear me at this level? Was there?
We're the only ones that actually hear the echo. So.
When I was growing up, the women who I was able to look to during the 50s and 60s were often in the world of women's sports, which was just beginning to blossom at that time. And so I was taught a lot of what I needed to know when I was a child, when I was an athlete. So I learned how to compete, I learned how to train, I learned how to focus, and I learned how to be in the world of men through women's sports. So I always go back to that, because eventually I had a zillion women. I mean, when I was playing Laura Roslin, I was watching Hillary Clinton traverse her years and her ambitions. So many incredible women. But really the roots of how I think women in particular blossom happen when they're this age. And if you're teaching your daughters that they can do whatever they focus on, and you're giving them the tools to develop their strength of mind and body, that's really what they need. Their internal role model, the feeling about themselves, is what will, bring them forward. Thank you. I feel guilty I don't have on my mask. I'm putting it back on.
Oh, you don't have to have it on. You don't have to. It's up to you.
No, we want to be with you.
That question was for both of you. James, Edward, who was your role model as a leader?
As a young person, I went to the area in which I was born and raised in was the streets of Los Angeles, East Los Angeles. And in Boyle Heights, and there's no trees or grass, or it's all cement. And so the biggest influence I had was my great-grandfather, who was extremely, extremely wise, and so wise that I realized only 20, 30, 40 years after how incredible what he set as an example. He was a very quiet man, but he was tall and he was strong, and I never grew to his height. He was taller than me when I was a kid. Even today at 5'10", I didn't reach where he was. He was taller than I was. My father was small. My father was 5'6". So, and my mom was like 5'5", so I came from that root. My great-grandfather was over 6 feet. And, but he, for example, when I was a little one, he would walk me down the street to go to preschool or something, and 3 years old. And that's the age when you're asking, what's that? Who's that? Why is that? What's happening? Grandpa, Papa, what's that? What's that? And he was really elderly already. He died at 87, and I was 6, 7 years old. So he was already 80 when I came into the picture. And so when I'm walking around with him at 3, he's like 83, and he's like, he was not, the old man had come out. And one of the things I've learned is that don't ever let the old man come out.
Okay, baby, then don't walk around like that.
No, I'm look at, I'm 75. I know I look good. But I'm an oldie now, all right? But so when he's walking, and I'm going, Papa, abuelito, abuelito. That's grandpa in Spanish. We all use our Spanish impaired. So he had me, and I go, what does that say? What does that say? And he said, mijito, when you see that, you look for the bird, or you look for the tree, or you look for the grass. Now, there was no birds, there was no tree, there was no grass. We're in the city street, on First Street, there was nothing but cement. And then the stores that were in front. So he ended up saying, you look for the bird, and he'd look around, he couldn't find a bird. He looked for the tree, couldn't find a tree either, and looked for the grass, and he's looking, And I said, oh, okay. So every time I saw, and to this day, every time I see a stop sign, what do I think? I think, where's the tree? Where's the birds? Where's the grass? Where's the green? When you see a stop sign, say, oh, I gotta stop now. And I didn't get it. It took me a long time to understand that wisdom. He knew what he was doing. My grandfather, his son, would have probably told me, that's a stop sign, we come to it, and you stop. If you're driving a car, you stop. My father would have said, every time you see that, you have to stop your car. And my mother would have done all that. That's what they would have said. Well, my great-grandfather said, you look for a tree, you look for the bird, you look for the grass. And to this day, when I hear my grandfather's voice in a second, and it takes me someplace other than, it puts me in a very good space. And that's where I came from. That's the kind of upbringing I had, which was...
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Great question.
That's so great. I know, I remember this. You told me this one time.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
This is for Mr. Olmos. I just wanted you to know that I'm a teacher of 22 years, thanks in part to your inspiration of the characters that you play.
Stand and deliver.
Yes, sir. And if you could talk about that experience, that would be wonderful.
That experience was one of a kind. To this day, I think that's one of the most rewarding pieces of work that I've done and put on film in my life. I've done a few of them. I've been very grateful. The stuff that I've done, starting with Battlestar. Battlestar is the best usage of television I've ever been a part of in my life. Okay, and I've done a lot of work on TV, okay? I don't know, you did, but I really did. So I did Miami Vice, which was crazy. You know, Hill Street Blues, NYPD Blue, you know, West Wing, all this stuff that I did, right? But nothing compares to what the story was on this one. Stand and Deliver is the single most effective film I've ever been a part of. Now, why? Because more people have seen that film than have seen Star Trek or Star Wars or Jaws or you know, any of the great films, Jaws, you know, any of the great films that you've seen, you know, that millions of us saw, 300 million people saw it, you know, when it was out, and 500 million people saw it around the world, you know. In the United States of America, no film has been seen as much as Stand and Deliver. Why? Because teachers use it every single year. Most of you saw it in school. You know, your teacher was smart enough to say, hey, we're gonna watch a movie today. Oh, great, oh, you're gonna put it on, yeah, I'll get to watch it. And you get caught. You get caught inside the story, and the story is very effective. And even if you're a hard-nosed kid or don't care about school or whatever, you get caught with the story. And the story is so pure in itself that it became the single most effective piece of work I've ever done on film. And I've done Selena, I've done a lot of work that I believe to be entertaining and have some substance to it. But nothing like Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver motivated you, it's motivated so many teachers. I can't tell you how many people come through and say, I saw your movie and I became a teacher. Oh, thank you. But it wasn't my movie. It was Jaime Escalante's movie. It's like catching lightning in a bottle. We did it. We caught him. And people say, well, you know, how did you do it? I said, well, I lived with him for a year. The only thing I didn't do was jump in bed with him. Lay down with him, fall asleep with him. See how he sleeps.
I don't think that's what he meant.
But
No, I don't know.
in essence, he allowed me inside of his life, and I was prepared for the opportunity, which means I was lucky that I was ready to take on the responsibility in 1987 of doing that role. Now you gotta remember, I was doing Miami Vice. I was doing Lieutenant Martin Castillo, so that's, whew. You can't get more, and you know, Martin Castillo had all the hair and all that stuff, and you know, and he was, you know, so I had a non-exclusive contract with NBC, which is unheard of. So they had to let me go and to make the movie. So I just promised them I would give them a 60-day notice, and that I would come back right after I was finished, and they would write me out, and until they needed me, I came back, and then when I come back, they'd do all the shots that I needed to do for the rest of the show. And so, with that being able to do that, I was able to then really become Jaime, and the hair used to take me 5 hours of makeup to do the hair alone, and then 2.5 hours to take it off. It was a hairpiece, it was crazy. But anyway, in essence, that movie, thanks to you and to so many teachers that are in this audience, I know that you guys have used it throughout the years, and I thank you for it, because you made a very, really, really wonderful human being, Jaime Escalante. You made him a part of the advancement of this society and our young people, because they see that movie and they get inspired. Teachers get inspired. I always get a kick out of a teacher who has the courage to show that movie and then stand up in front of the class after they've seen it and start to teach. I always get, wow, you got confidence. There you go.
Thank you. Next question.
No matter how old I get, I always want to be Laura Roslin when I grow up, so thank you for that.
Well, you look very young, so you've got a great future.
I'm 40, yeah, okay. Whenever somebody's reluctant to watch Battlestar, I tell them it has the greatest slow burn love story on television history ever. And I was curious, was it slow burn for the two of you? Did you know what was going to happen between episodes or seasons? Did you know you were going to come together? Really?
No, we didn't. We've talked about this a bit before. I mean, Ed and I already had a great deal of respect and admiration for each other and had wanted to work together. So the working together part we already knew was going to be exciting. But the script, as you all know, originally set us up as such adversaries in some ways that were very deep. I mean, I was touchy around this guy at the beginning. Like, he couldn't get away with shit around me. I'm sorry. And I was in that, female defense mode. Because he was pushing me around. And I didn't like it. And Laura Roslin. So we had to go to those places. Because you have to do it as actors. You can't pretend. You got to find the part of you that has bias. And you got to commit. And boy, did he commit. I mean, when he and Michael Hogan would call me that frickin' school teacher, I just wanted to chop their heads off. And I wanted to say to him, how ironic, Mr. Stand and Deliver. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, what is this about? No, I'm teasing. I did have that thought once or twice, but, so I honestly feel like what happened between, I don't know if we've ever gone deep on this, a deep dive, but I feel like what happened between us happened because there were two adults playing adults. And so our characters would be given dilemmas that were completely unsolvable. And I would look at him and he would look at me as the characters, and there would just be a sense of peace. I don't know how else to describe it, that started to develop between us, a sense of calm and a kind of, okay, in fact, we'd be better off on the same team. And in fact, that's the only way we're going to solve it. And it slowly, in my feeling, laid the groundwork for any good relationship, which has to begin with a kind of complete acceptance of the person you're looking at. And once that was there, then there was the reliance that grew, the trust that grew, and once all that was there, the rest of that stuff kind of came out. I mean, that's how I experienced it. It was sort of a gradual. I think he just fell head over heels. No. I'm teasing. But I don't know, was that similar to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, what you did on camera as an actor, as an artist inside of this situation was unprecedented. I mean, the truth that you came out with, we both hit a solid understanding of what it is to really use the craft. The show was, from the beginning, the very first time you read it, was really, really powerfully human. And the importance of it was overwhelming. And I was just talking about it as I was signing today. I was talking to people, and it's true, though. I mean, this is the best usage of television I've ever been a part of, okay? Today, right now, people are watching that show, and they're getting stuff out of it that you can't get out of shows today, right now, because of the subject matter that we're dealing with.
Well, also, in relation to your question, in relation to what Ed is saying, we're still not seeing couples over 50 with deep and profound blossoming love. So it isn't like Laura Roslin and Adama created a pathway for us to see a ton of these relationships. Is anybody seeing them anywhere? No? See? So, to your point, I don't know why our culture resists it. Deep and profound love can happen at any age. It will happen to many of you, and it will happen to you when you're older. And the more we understand that that's all there is, in our lives? Is that to be discovered between us? I mean, you know, maybe we will not all be running around in masks someday.
When I stepped up here, the first thing I said to all of you was, I love this woman. And that's a truth. Over 20 years ago, we were able to do this, and well, 18, 19, going 19. We got together to do this work. And in the show, like we were saying, we were very at opposite ends. We really were. And it was almost impossible for us to get together unless we really reconciled a strong understanding of what our responsibilities were. And like adults, like what you said, I had to give up being the macho, the driving. I mean, I wanted to go fight the war, and she's telling me, excuse me, man, but we lost that, man. Are you kidding? Let's just try to find a way to keep ourselves alive. Don't try to go out and fight because you're going to die. And, you know, and it was true. Everything she was saying was a truth, and a truth that was so strong that it permeated the entire understanding of the show. And I got to tell you, this woman, you talk about able to understand complexity in the work that we do. She's amazing. She flips on a second. I mean, she's so intuitive, so in tune that I could, because I'm fast, and I really understand the depth of what I have to do. And like we did, when I was doing it with her, I mean, off camera, we were very kind and nice to each other. But as soon as we got on camera, we were at odds ends, man. We were absolutely inside of those characters. So when we're shooting this thing, she'd look at me and go, boy, I really don't like you. You're an idiot. You're really stupid. You know, she would just give it to you. And I could feel it. And I would get so angry. And I would use it. And it was real. And so I would say to you guys right now, the things that we've been able to accomplish with our art form was personified by this show. And I really appreciated the opportunity to do it. And we knew then that we would never get another opportunity like this again. This is it. I mean, I'll never do another show that hits me the way that this one did. And I'm doing Mayans right now, which is I love that show. It's a good show. Really wonderful show, and the acting and everything, and the storyline. Woo, it's great. It's dark. You know, everybody likes it. But I'll put it to you this way: if there was a Holocaust and there was a huge nuclear war, and all of your relatives died, and all of your friends and your pets and everything, and you're just left, a single person is left in your whole community that you know of. All right, and there's only 49,000 of you left on the entire planet, okay? Because you saw this show, you would know what you have to do. You know that you have to go forward, and you have to triumph, and that humanity has to move forward. What we did for the right to choose, the right to life problem, you know, I turned around, I said, you go, well, you know, she has the right in Capricorn, she has the right to choose. And I said, no more right to choose. You're gonna have the kid. And I want everybody to make babies, a whole bunch of them. You remember that? What a scene that was, because that twisted everybody's brain. Everybody that said, no, people have the right to teach. Well, guess what? In the world that we're developing, if there was a thing, there would be, everybody has to help. We have to repopulate the entire planet. And that's what ends up happening. So for me, thank you for the question, but I love it.
Your acting was so it was amazing. You guys knew those characters so well. And I was told that the line, that when you ad-libbed the line that "so say we all," that you ad-libbed that line, and the writers liked that so much that they incorporated that into the dialogue of the show. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, basically the moment, you got to remember, one of the things that most people don't know, maybe you do now because we've said it a few times throughout our time doing these conventions, that was the very first scene we shot on the entire show. What they had done, the morning was spent with Baltar and number 6 making love. Yeah, that's all they ever did. Okay. And I said, you know, cute stuff. And it was nice, and they were, but when we had lunch, right after we had lunch, they had put up our first major piece of work shot. They had 4 cameras. It was the first time I was going to work with Mary, first time I was going to work with any of us, and it was the So Say We All scene. So when you see that scene, just realize that's the very first time any of us had been in character and on camera. And if you look at it, you start to realize how that discomfort, that, you know, even as an actor, you say, okay, it's my first time, and who am I? I'm not even saying anything, so I'll just stand here. But wait a minute, if I'm just standing here, I better know who I am, because, you know, it's going to be filmed, and it's going to be there for eternity. It's going to be, that's it. So everybody, if you look at it, everybody jumped in with all committed. And everybody just said yes. And there was a lot of kids that had never done a television show. They'd never been in front of camera. And they all jumped in and everything. So when we hit the So Say We All scene, they had no idea I was gonna, they wanted me, the director wanted me, like, you remember the priestess was talking from here, and all the dead bodies were in front of us, and then the whole crew that was left went behind all the bodies. And they wanted me to stand next to her. And I turned and I said to the director, I said, excuse me, but I want to stand with the crew. And is it okay? And he says, of course, yeah, you can do whatever you'd like to do. And I said, okay. I said, can your cameras move? What a question. Do your cameras move, Mr. Director? I never worked with him. I didn't know what he was talking, you know, what he was going to do. So he says, yes, I'll be able to cover you anything you want to do. I go, okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So I started off standing there, and of course, when it happened, I started there and I looked around and I did the whole scene. And I came in and they had no idea. The first time I said, so say we all. They looked at each other and looked at me, and then, you see it. So say we all. No, so say we all. And then they kind of started looking at each other, and then they said a little louder. The third time, I nailed them, and they all said, so say we all. And it became the most important aspect of the show. That's where we united as a family on that Battlestar, and we were going to go off and tell the story of what was going to happen to us.
I thought he was out of his mind. Laura Roslin was like, who is this dude? But it's a unification moment for the cast. It was extremely, extremely exciting. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Next question.
So I also want to be Laura Roslin when I grow up, but more importantly, I want to be you, Mary, when I grow up. And so my question is specifically for you. Sorry, Eddie.
That's all right, he's talked a bit.
Laura Roslin is such a unique character in the science fiction landscape as an older woman in a position of power with a rich and unique storyline. What about playing her surprised you?
I'm sorry, what about what?
Playing her. What about that role surprised you?
Oh, good, that's an excellent question. A lot surprised me because there was so much of our experience of Laura Roslin that was discovered as we went along. If you really look at Laura Roslin's dialogue, the most polite way I know how to say it is that it was very economical. So she did not often verbalize what she was thinking. She did not often act out what she was feeling. So what surprised me was how much I could get from the actors around me, that they could feel and understand her intentions even when all she did was give them a look. Right? Because really, when you go back and look at her words, there's not a lot. So learning that a human being who needs to hold power can do it quietly was the biggest thing she taught me. She taught me that power isn't necessarily visible on someone. Power is held within. And the more I understood that playing her, and the more I would see the way people around me would respond to her, which is how we learn as actors if we're working well. We get the feedback from the people we're working with in their response as characters, in the discussion afterwards, in the forward movement. And I started to see that her secret weapon, if it wasn't really a secret, but it was unknown even to her, was that she chose to hold her cards close to her, and she chose to allow others to be fully expressed around her, and then she would make a move. So the only time we really saw her lose her shit was when his life was in danger and she said, "I'm coming for all of you." And that she would give her, if it takes her eye teeth or whatever that she said. And that was startling to learn that she, all of this time, carried that level of rage unexpressed. And that's so female. I mean, I hope all the women out there and the men out there that that's going to change, because you cannot hold, women, we cannot just keep holding our rage within these bodies of ours and then let them out suddenly in a given moment of vulnerability. We have to be allowed to release more often. But she showed me both the power in being quiet and the danger. Because in fact, Laura internalized an awful, awful lot. And I thought about that a lot as she was losing her life. If she was losing her life force, I thought a lot about how much Laura carried that perhaps was noble, but in the long run, humans, I hope that humans have an easier time of releasing than Laura did. So she taught me a whole lot about power and vulnerability living side by side. I'm sorry, that was a very convoluted answer.
That was an excellent answer.
Oh, thank you.
Next question.
Hi. I love Battlestar Galactica, and I would just love to hear you guys talk more about it. So I was wondering if you would talk about either your favorite scene that you filmed, or maybe the most difficult scene that you filmed on Battlestar.
Go ahead.
Start with the difficult.
Yeah, do your favorite first.
I never have a favorite.
I like the one where you passed me the joint. I thought that was hysterical.
I liked it too. I liked it too because I love this action. I love this. Watch. I always wanted to do that in a movie. And who would have thought that it would be as the president of the universe where I get to tell it, you know? And I could show people I actually know how to do this, dudes. Like, I'm not faking it. So I guess Eddie answered me. For me, that was my favorite. I still fantasize about it. What was your least favorite?
Oh, the hardest.
Your hardest.
The hardest, of course. I mean, the hardest, and thinking about it, I'm crying already. Just thinking about it. I don't have to even express it, but when I express it, it becomes very difficult. And that was the last scene we shot, which was inside of the raptor. And I put the ring on her finger, and she's dead. And oof. I'm sorry, but it took us 3 times to do it, because when I would go down to put the ring on and I'd go down to kiss her hand, a teardrop would drop on her hand, and she would like, oh, she couldn't, she'd lose it. She was losing it.
But I was dead.
She was dead. But she couldn't hold the emotion back, and so, okay, well, let's try it again, let's try it again. And the director would go, one more time, please. Okay, and so we finally got it, and it worked, and of course you could see it. I mean, watch that, it tears the heart out of everybody. It was the saddest moment because it was the last shot we did together. It was at like 2 o'clock in the morning in a Raptor, and it was it. We were finishing the show, and her son was there. And Mikey was 12, 11 or 12, I think, something like
I
that.
think he was like 9, almost.
Was he?
I don't know, I don't remember. He was young.
2008. So he was already, he was
11.
I think 10 or 11, something, I don't know. Anyway, Mikey was there, and we finished the scene, and she came off and she was emotionally moved, she was very emotional, and she got up and she collapsed from the emotion, and her son grabbed her and held on to her, and they walked slowly away, and I was completely destroyed. And so to me, that was the hardest moment. There was a few of them for me personally, but not with Mary. With Mary, that one is the hardest moment I could have ever experienced in my lifetime. And that was the day that she died. And so to me, when I found out that Ty was, Cylon, that completely destroyed me. Ugh.
You were really pissed.
What a betrayal.
Of all people. Like, he's at least your buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, I had mixed feelings about him anyway, but geez. No, we were just so relieved we weren't Cylons. Nothing against Cylons. Some of them are my best friends. But after you commit years of your imagination and your heart and soul to trying to cope with this force called Cylon, and then they told some of the actors that they were, some of them were severely depressed. I'm not kidding. It was just really tough to make that switch. That's a tricky part of being an actor, particularly in a TV series. And I think Ed and I have been very lucky in that we often know at least a little bit about what's coming down the pike. We're not always blindsided. But a lot of actors out there are completely blindsided by plot line. And they have to make adjustments that cost dearly in the internal work, And that was a very interesting thing for us to observe, the effect that suddenly finding out that you're the enemy, but not really, but sort of, it had a big effect on people. And that was difficult for us to take it back to your question. That was a very hard moment for a lot of the cast.
Excellent. We have time for one more question, but before we get that, I have to ask, this is on behalf of my mom, her favorite sci-fi movie of all time is Blade Runner. Hands down. And she wanted to know, was it gratifying doing Blade Runner 2049? Was it gratifying to go back to play detective?
I thought that 2049 used GAF perfectly. It was such a surprise to all of you. Anybody who saw the show, the movie, because you didn't expect it. We were like 80% of the movie is finished, you're moving along. All of a sudden, bing! In walks, there's Gaff, working in the old age home, elderly, with the elderly, and it just, people gasped. It was a huge gasp from people, but they used it perfectly, because at first I say, they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, yeah, for lots of money, I'll do anything, Pay me lots of money, because you guys made lots of money with the first one, and I didn't get paid that much, but now I'm gonna make up for it. And so, they paid me, and I went there, and it took me about 15, 16 minutes to shoot it. It was really simple, and I went, they took me to Europe, and it was great, and then I saw the show, and they used it perfectly. I loved the fact that he was just sitting there and said, hey man, you don't even know. Good luck.
Okay.
You know? And I put the little lamb, the little origami lamb, I put it up on top. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Last question.
I work for Salt Lake County Library System, so hopefully most people have their library card and use their library card. Yay! So my question is for both of you. What was an influential book or author from your youth?
I'm trying to think of the name of the author, honestly, because when I get asked questions like this, I have PTSD from Catholic school, and I go completely blank. Everything that I know about myself and my life suddenly disappears, and it's as if I was just born. But a book that had this is kind of interesting. It was Marion Zimmer Bradley's Mists of Avalon. Oh, good, I'm glad. Thank you. All right, and I've read a lot of books by the time that book came to me. I was in my early 20s, and the great theater director, Andre Gregory, gave me this book because he thought it would be something I'd be interested in. And it shifted my entire perception of myself as a woman. Yes. And where the feminine came from, and why and how the feminine has been held back for eons. The whole allegory of being sort of drifting into the invisible mist, the power of the feminine being held inside the invisible. It was just an extraordinary awakening for me that set me in a different direction that I'm still working on now. So thank you for that.
Mine was the one that caught me the most as a kid was the thing that I read. It's called For Those I Loved by Martin Gray. For Those I Loved. Oof, man, I'm telling you right now, if you haven't read it, be careful. Because it'll move you to understanding your life to another level. It's like Viktor Frankl's book, you know, Man's Search for Meaning. Those are books that just like completely twist you around, or a Tibetan book on living and dying. That'll twist you forever. You know, those are but I was young when I read that, and boy, did it affect me, man. It set my whole tone of understanding, because that story is just ridiculously difficult to take. For Those I Loved, Gray.
I'm so glad that you work in library science. Yeah. Deeply grateful for your service. Honestly, thank you so much.
You guys, we are at the end of our panel. Can you please give a huge round of applause for Edward and Mary? Thank you so much for joining us here at FanX, everybody.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.